Hello and welcome to Soul Steps. I'm David Gallagher. I was watching footage of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral on television, and one of the commentators said something interesting, said, "Grief is the price we pay for love." And certainly, if you've ever loved anyone, you know that there's multiple ways that grief can be encountered because of love. I myself went through a very painful and grievous divorce a few years ago. And I remember going to a grief recovery class at a church, having been told that it was for grief in general. Well, I got in there and discovered not too far into it that it was really grief that people were experiencing having had loved ones die. And yet I could relate to everything that was being said because, as it were, a loved one of mine had died. The relationship had died. I was with my brother in Texas last year, and I just happened to be visiting him when he got diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer. And I spent probably 75% of my time over the next almost year just being there with him to help he and his wife and just be available. And it was grievous to have to walk through his deterioration and watching the cancer metastasize to different parts of his body and finally to his brain, and watching him just in his eyes, watching him begin to grow more and more and more distant and farther away until he died. But one of the greatest privileges of my life was to get to be right there with him when he passed. And it's something I'll thank God for. But in terms of grieving, God gives us tear ducts for a reason. He created us to cry. Personally, I believe He wants us to cry and to express our emotion through the tear ducts He's given us. All too often, typically it's men that are taught, or it's modeled for them not to be crybabies, not to shed tears, keep stuff bottled up. And yet, what a disaster that is when we just stuff our emotions and hold them inside. Those emotions do come out in other ways, and often it's not pretty. I want to encourage you today, however you need to let go and wherever you need to let go, whatever private setting you need to do it, let the emotions out, let the tears flow, let the grieving either continue or maybe in some cases let the grieving begin. Maybe there's loss you've experienced in your life and you've never grieved that loss. And it could be, it's not necessarily people dying or divorces. It could be loss of jobs, just loss of close friendships and relationships, but you're grieving. You've never expressed it. Psalm 30 is a psalm of thanksgiving. And it says in Psalm 30 that weeping may last for the night, but joy or rejoicing is going to come in the morning. And that's something that you can thank God for, is that when you do grieve, comes, as it were, an end to the grief and a restoration of joy at some point. Also in Psalm 73, verse 26, the Bible says, "The Lord is near the brokenhearted, and He saves those who are crushed in spirit." I think of the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5, verse 4. It says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." So whatever your point of grief might be today, let it out. Experience it. Don't hold it back. Use the tear ducts that God created you with. But know that the more and sooner you can let those tears flow, that the sooner greater and greater healing can also come. And that grief, if you let it out, won't be manifested in your life and in your relationships in other, sometimes more destructive ways. So let it go and experience God's healing and comfort. Thanks for watching today. Visit us at soulsteps.org. We just appreciate you being with us. If you have prayer requests, let us know. If you'd like to volunteer, we're looking to build our team. And thanks for remembering us as you're able in your giving. God bless you.